indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray.
Dear Father, thank you for the veterans. Please bless them. Please be upon their lives. Please be upon our meeting and help us to do your will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened its public meeting since 1968. The city code has prohibited any person from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the city council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There's only one approved manner of addressing the council, that is to be recognized and then speak from the podium. Ms. Sykes, you call the roll.
Mr. Hill.
Here.
Mr. Jefferson.
Here.
Mr. Sampson.
Here.
Mayor Witt. Mr. Williams. Mr. Coberline.
Here.
Chief Butler.
Here.
All right, we have minutes. Do we have a motion for the minutes?
A motion that we approve the minutes published. Second.
All right, motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, do we have a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second for approval of the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Persons wishing to address council, we have some here. Mr. Glenell Bowden.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson, council members. My name is Glenn Bowden, 1156 Northeast Pascal Norris. I think I want to start the night off, as my daughter told me to do, and let it be known publicly that I am a convicted felon and have been since 1971. She thought it'd be a good idea that I put it on the record so that those with Jim Crow mentality will understand that it was a painful and regrettable time, but it's something that I lived on, moved on from, and so if it was suggested at the last meeting that perhaps those of us who've been convicted of a felony shouldn't be listened to. So if that be the case, I would certainly want the city council and the mayor is here to advise me of that. Having said that, I really wrote to speak to you about at the last CRA meeting, Mr. Jefferson chaired that meeting. There was a conversation about the sign at Animal Jerry Park. And that I know it's not on the agenda, and it got to be on the agenda item for the council to take final action on it. Staff, according to what I gathered at the last meeting, done the research, they got the price on it. And I think it's time now for us to move forward with that sign. There's money in the budget for it. There's money in the CRA budget that can accomplish that. So I'm just standing before you tonight, urging that at our next meeting, try to be sure that's on the budget, so on the agenda, so we can talk about it and be sure we move forward with it. And so the council will know that we're not talking about the welcome sign. The welcome sign that the committee is talking about is four different signs that are four entrances to the city. Animal Park sign is a whole different sign. So the sign that I'm talking about is the Animal Park sign. Which back in before Councilman Green resigned, he had suggested that sign be an information sign to be two signs. He didn't mention that there's gonna be no billboard, no big sign, information sign, much like the sign in front of the school board. If anybody think a billboard is like that, if that sign in front of the school board is a billboard sign, then excuse me. But that's the kind of sign we're talking about. Sign is informational, it's an anime Jared, established whatever that year is. And on that sign, you'll be able to say city council meeting tonight, that city special meeting, that kind of sign. And I think that's what we need. And I just want to be sure that as you move forward to the next meeting, that be a part of your discussion. And so we'll definitely fall through the cracks. Thank you.
I see it. Mr. Holmgren?
I admit I'm curious where the mayor is tonight and the procedure that puts you in charge of the meeting, but I appreciate you presiding. The sign in question, not the four entrance signs, which I think we all agree should be inanimate, but the sign in question is a moving sign, something that has the potential to distract drivers and change the character and the appearance of the entrance of the city, which is indeed a historical city, one where we pride ourselves on being sort of a century behind with the old apothecaries and the old storefronts that we're trying to preserve. So I think this illuminated sign that Mr. Bowden is promoting, which shouldn't be on the agenda tonight, I believe it should be stricken off the agenda until such time as you can present us with costs and fees and where the $40,000 or $50,000 is going to come from to afford such a magnificent sign when there's already infrastructure deals and things that are not being done, which were previously approved. You had already agreed to put in planters and beautify the downtown district and spend $120,000 doing so. And that sign was not allocated and those funds were not allocated for that purpose. I suggest you go back and revisit the commitments that you've already made and make good on the promises that you've already done with the affordable housing, which is supposed to get $100,000 this year and $120,000 that was allocated for downtown beautification projects, most of which you can afford. I understand it's only about $60,000 or $70,000 to actually remove the trees and do the things that are needed to do from gate to gate, the beautification that's been called for. So if we're going to start putting things on the agenda for next meeting, I want to make sure that I see my tax dollars being spent on things that I'll enjoy as I'm walking around the city. Thank you for your considerations. If there's anything else that's walked onto the agenda tonight, I'd also like to speak on that topic. Thank you.
Mr. Sampson, may I say something?
Yeah.
Mr. whatever your name is, you talking about your tax dollars? The same tax dollar that you're talking about spending downtown, it's people on the other side of the track spend the same tax dollars. And you mean to say that you got a problem with them getting, just say a sign, and you rather spend those same tax dollars on removing the tree? Let me finish. On removing trees downtown? Mr. Holgren, whatever your name is, when I say racist, you is a racist.
No, thank you. You're a racist because you call out the race card whenever you want something.
Let me finish. Anything that has to do with anything on the other side of the track, you got something negative to say about it. It never fails. Never.
Are you finished?
I can put right now.
Okay. Well, I have no problem spending money anywhere in the city. I think we should spend money, but honor those projects that are going to draw tourism, draw in new businesses, draw in new tax revenues. Honor those commitments that you've already made to beautify the city core and work outward. You've already got a plan to put in welcome signs on the 4 entranceways into the city. I think that's a good start. I think courting a relationship with people who have property that's on the edge, I think that's a good start. Like I think Mr. Sylvester was offering, one of the churches had a piece of land that they were willing to deed. Well, go ahead and make those deed arrangements. Go ahead and secure the property easement rights before you start putting together a $40,000 or $50,000 sign when there are so many other projects, like even the park benches they want would go for much, the money would spend much further on park benches than it would on signs. So an illuminated sign to help a few select people advertise their agenda in the town is not my idea of being fiscally responsible.
Let me say something to
Mr. Warren,
go ahead.
you,
So,
After that.
Mr. Sampson, I'm on my paper to speak a few times, but in public comments, I was going to speak about one issue, but since Mr. Holgram and his issue is coming up about North Downtown, let's have a conversation about North Downtown. Before Mr. Holgram started coming to city council meetings, Vanessa, myself, Mr. Bowden, a few other people, we've been advocating about this council doing something about North Downtown. The city owns Sallie Mae Jerry Park. We had to protest threatened lawsuits to even get the city to fix their own park. It was in shambles. It was 25 years, never been had any type of improvement done to it. It was a total wreck, mildew. It was just filthy, no bathroom. People were just urinating outside. So we called to action for the city to do something about that particular area. And it's mighty funny that all of a sudden, when it's convenient, it's a historic area, right? And you don't want certain signs down there. However, there was a vote on the sign to go down there. But let's talk about North Marion Street for a second. So I've gotten with Jeff Hampton, and I've also put on social media, just a quick glance at the property appraisal website. There's buildings on North Downtown Marion Street that predates buildings from Railroad Street all the way back to Bell. So my position is, since we want to have this conversation, is that North Downtown is just as historic, building-wise, date-wise, as any part of downtown. And all this core stuff, what core? Everybody knows, anybody has any financial sense, any type of entrepreneur savvy about them, tells you that your investment should have started North Downtown, where there's a residential community, so you have a base of people to support it. After 5 o'clock, ain't nothing popping down here. So the smartest thing to have done is screw the core, skip it, go down there where there's a residential base at, and begin to put some infrastructure down there, like a strip mall and a commercial corridor, so people can have something to patronize and have the amenities. But this talk about the middle and the core, this special interest group, and some of these colonizers, or whatever they want to call themselves and whatever they want to be in this time and day and age, this is not even kosher. We live in 2021, and y'all always want to say this, all of our communities, all of our downtown. Then why are we not spending money in all of the downtown? Why are we separating? Why are we spending more money in the core than we're spending on the outer ends of it? I think it should be unified. That's where you should start from. Get the benches, get the pavers, something that's low-hanging fruit that we can all do very easily, very affordable. You get the benches, you get the pavers, you get with Florida Power and Light, you run the antique lights all the way down to Bell, and it starts to look like something. It becomes investment friendly on the north end of downtown, so people can get investments and start making improvements down there. But I'm tired of this whatever you want to call it, this dislike for the Black community. We can't help we came out Black, and we definitely can't help that downtown runs through our community. That's not our fault. But since it's there, I mean, treat it like it's there and spend the resources equally. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Jordan?
I would like to address the council on, it's not even an issue. I want the council to stop entertaining. When we come up here, it's about an issue. If I come up here, it's about an issue on here. But it seems like the council is entertaining people coming up, trying to talk about people not on the council. If they want to talk about people not on the council, the people are available. We're available for them to talk to us in and outside these doors. But they want to come up here and discuss other people. If we're talking about issues, they want to come up here just to oppose, like Councilman Hill said, just to oppose certain issues. The sign that was voted on the previous with Green. This council went up there, they already did everything on the park. Other people want to come up and try to tell y'all to change stuff that's already going to be done. Even with the statue thing down there, that was already voted on. People come in, they want to talk about the people who are against it, not about the issue itself. I want this council to stop entertaining people talking about people personally, and let's stick to the issues.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm sorry I'm late. My wife had a pre-op at 1 and we got out of there at 5, and then there was a wreck on 75, and so.
We're to the consent agenda, approval of consent.
Okay, so everybody's ready to approve.
Yep.
Okay, we have approval of the consent agenda, item 4. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Motion and second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Presentation, third annual Thanksgiving Unity and Community Dinner, Kim Denpark. Yes.
Yeah, I was down to speak on item 4.
He's right here.
Sure, go ahead. All right, you can come speak.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Sylvester Warren, 930 Northeast Oconee. I understand the importance of doing this interim agreement with the county so that people can go about their business as far as building and whatever things that they need to get done with the building department. However, is there gonna be, do you know whether or not there's gonna be a way to notice the public as to where they go? If we're doing city business, as far as the building department, do we still go down and deal with growth management on the city side? Or do we go over to the county building and speak with them about city affairs? Have we gotten that far yet?
I don't think we've gotten all the procedures out. I know they're gonna handle the inspections, but I think the growth management is still gonna be ran by us.
Okay, when you get to that point, can you give the public some clarity as to how we're gonna?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
May I speak for a moment? If you turn over the correction and supervision of code enforcement to the county temporarily, will they be able to verify the license and insurance requirements on contractors that work in the city, people that pull permits and do that sort of thing? I know that's part of the problem that we've had in the past, was we didn't have enough boots on the ground to supervise the enforcement of our own, I think it's an occupational license requirement, and if you're a contractor doing work in the city or pulling in dumpsters and things, that you would have insurances and licensure for that work. So are we going to pursue that now that we're going to turn this over to the county temporarily?
I'm sure we're gonna make sure everybody complies with whatever you see.
Because that would be the right thing to do, to abide by our own rules and regulations and charter. Okay, good.
Don't change that. Okay, getting back to item 5, is Ms. Denmark here? Okay.
Mayor,
Yes,
before we leave 5 and get into 6, as to code enforcement, item 4 does not address code enforcement, simply for a building official.
right.
So make sure that we're all crystal clear on that, and crystal clear on the idea that we're going to wait to find out how the administration is going to handle the relationship as it relates to a building official.
Okay.
Thank
Okay, item 6 is Lake City Columbia County Humane Society request.
Honorable Mayor Witt and Councilman Jefferson, Sampson, and Hill, and the staff, thank you for allowing me to appear briefly before you tonight. My name is Marlon Fiegel. I'm an attorney here in Lake City. My office is at 153 Northeast Madison Street. And I'm here to represent the interest of the Lake City Columbia County Humane Society. We had sent a letter back in, it's dated October the 28th, and you have that in your agenda package outlining our request at this time. And I spoke with Mr. Mike Williams, the city manager, about appearing on the agenda. Thank you for hearing us early on. And it was with the understanding with Mr. Williams that we would keep our presentation to no more than 10 minutes and hopefully less than 5 minutes. So I'll lean on the letter that you have before you with the request. Let me just give you a little bit of a backstory here, mainly for the interest, I guess, of those individuals who may not have seen the letter and know what the Humane Society does. The society, which was known as the Animal Shelter and other things when I was, many years ago, when I was wearing a younger man's clothes, it was called the Pound. Well, it's a lot more than that now. This is not the Dog Pound. It should be called the Animal Care Center. Would probably be a better name for it. But the backstory is it was created and incorporated back in 1964. Some of you remember Margaret Smith, who was a saint as far as the services this center provides. And then in 2008, it carried on. In 2008, it received a 501c3 designation from the Internal Revenue Service. Now that's important to know here because that says it's a nonprofit corporation. It can accept donations, but in the event it's dissolved, the directors or no individual can put the money or the property in their pocket. It has to be distributed to another 501c3 501c3 organization. So they kept going. In 2010, the Humane Society purchased a little over 8 acres of property. It was already using the city property, but it actually had made enough money to purchase that. So it's expanding, it's doing its job. And then in 2011, thank you, Lake City, you quit claim the facilities there to the Humane Society. And the reason we're here tonight, in summary, is that that quitclaim deed contains a reverter clause. The attorneys here know what that is. If it's not used for the purpose it was intended, for animal care, then the property is going to automatically revert back to the city. Well and good. They've had it under their custody and stewardship for over 10 years now, and I think you'll note that they've done a good job with it. They provided a lot of community services, including animal control. They have a veterinarian clinic, adoptions, dog work, dog walks, and things of that nature. So now they have about 12,000 square feet of building located on the property, and they've done all that with money they've earned and from donations. But they want to expand it. They've done such a good job, they need to expand, they need more building space. They've already, from the earnings, constructed the bones of a new facility there that I believe is 5,000 square feet, but it's just the structure. They need some help. So they need to go to the bank and try to borrow some money. As all of you businessmen know, you can't borrow money from the bank with a reverter clause in your property. So they want to do that. So our request is to release the reverter clause, which I think could be done with just simply a new quitclaim deed that doesn't include the reverter clause. And the city would maintain its right to easements to the utilities and water, gas, sewer, and other utilities there, and would enable them to keep providing the services. To let you know they're good stewards and who they are, I just want to briefly tell you, and they can raise their hand if they're here, who the board of directors is. And these folks serve voluntarily. If you multiplied their salary by 3, their check would still read 0. But they're very good citizens. They are into this with their whole heart, and they're very capable of what they're doing, and you can see it from the development. Keith Williams is president. He's here. Laura Hunter, Linda Johns, Rose Havey. Linda Johns is another officer there. Jennifer Goff, Ann Skinner is here, Barbara McDuffie, and Roland Lester. And those are the kind of people you're entrusting to do what needs to be done. And the track record and the backstory shows they are doing it. So we request your favorable approval of releasing the reverter and giving us a new quitclaim deed without that. We're here for any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions? I know they've done a fantastic job over the last few years, and it's amazing, and it's very important, and that's one of the first things I learned when I got elected is that we don't want to be in the animal control business, and they've done a great job for the city and the county, so I would be in favor of it. Anybody got any questions or a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we do a new deed removing the reverter clause. Is that what the motion would need to be?
Yes. Is there a second?
Well, I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Oxley, you call the roll.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay,
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We'll all work with the city attorney to complete that.
thank you very much. Okay, moving on to old business, we had opened a public hearing on City Council Ordinance 2021-2209, final reading. Mr. Kirkland, would you read that by title?
An ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the code of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing for amendments to Chapter 70, Article 5, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date period.
Okay, anybody in the audience wish to speak for or against this ordinance? If not, we'll close the public hearing, move into adoption of ordinance 2021-2209.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of adoption of ordinance number 2021-2209 on its final reading.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion by council? Ms. Oxley, call the roll.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, we move into other items, discussion possible action, fire extension board appointees. Still haven't found anybody.
We need somebody.
We do. New businesses, no ordinances, we're moving to resolutions, item 9, the city council resolution 2021-166. Mr. Kevlon, would you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the annual operating budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021, period.
Okay, Mr. Warren, did you want to speak to that?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Sylvester Warren, 930 Northeast Oconee Terrace. I looked through the agenda packet. I see that we are amending the 2021 budget. Is there a reason that we're amending this budget that you can let myself and the public know about? Why we're amending it? Is there a dollar amount? And
I don't have that right in front of me, but,
I mean, we're gonna amend the budget, man. We gotta, the public, and we should know how much and why.
they are to do it because.
Well, I'm under the impression that you're trying to find $400,000 to pay Warner. I just want to make sure that information is accurate.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Ms. Donegan.
She would need to go on the podium. Oh, you can go to Mike's right there. Don,
What?
you can go to Mike.
Yeah, this year.
The reason that the budget amendment is done is because every year I'm required within 60 days after the end of the fiscal year to amend any budget that there's basically new revenues. Now, we do also make some adjustments to what is there to sometimes move money to where we don't have enough money in certain departments or whatever. But the primary reason that you do that, for instance, what is on that budget amendment is where we budgeted the $913,000 that we received for the CARES Act. So that is in there because that's additional revenue. Also, I can't remember everything that's on it because I don't have it in front of me, but that's the primary reason that we do that. And in answer to your question having to do with the $400,000, you had asked that before. What the $400,000 is, there is a, and I don't have it in front of me, but does anybody have a copy of it? And you have it in front of you? Do you have it in front
I
of you?
know about memory.
Okay, so if you will look there under the section under the general fund.
Right.
So you had asked me previously, and I told you that I didn't know where I was going to take it from until I did the budget amendment. So in the budget amendment, you notice that there is a section in there where it's the 400,000 is where it's an adjustment to grants and aid for private organizations. And what that is that's where we're actually charging it to for the 400,000 because that's normally where we put any aid that we provide. And so the other uses have to do with where we took $150,000 out of contingency. We took $150,000 out of the police salaries, and we also took $100,000 out of the capital outlay infrastructure in the 0110 fund. So that's where the money came from. So in other words, the money was taken, and so it was moved, since there was not enough money there to cover that, then it was moved from those other departments in order to make that happen.
I'm under the understanding that, is there any way that this council can investigate how much more of these unhidden costs that may be coming our way? I think Mr. Heffenberger made these deals. I hear that there's another 10, maybe less deals out here that may be coming.
Well, we know that on this particular one, there's still another $200,000. The one you had asked before had to do with the Blanche, I believe. So the Blanche, we've made the 22nd payment on the $35,000 that we pay per month, and I believe that was for 10 years. So that's $35,000 a month for the 22 months that we've already paid. So anything beyond that for the 10 years, that's what we continue to owe. Now, we are receiving money in rent also against that because we budgeted this year about $117,000, I think it was, for rental income, because they are actually providing rent at this point right now.
But it's only offsetting the 39,000 and some change, right?
Correct.
So I guess my concern as a citizen with the amount of tax dollars that I pay into the base, along with other people in the community is I'm concerned about the financial stability of the city.
We all are.
Yeah, and I'm concerned as to whether or not we're going to have to borrow more money. And I know this idea has been potentially floated, even to borrow $400,000 or $600,000 to pay Warner. And that bothers me as to what predicament we are in financially.
Well, I think I don't know if you were here last year, whenever the auditors presented the financial statements, the auditors stated that we were in decent shape. And so can I tell you that whether or not, if we spend a lot of money on a lot of big projects, it might be a very contentious thing.
In those contingent funds.
But we're not trying to do that. And that's why you do have undesignated fund balance, which you can sometimes apply to that. And that generally, the undesignated fund balance says that that's the money that you can spend. Obviously, you don't spend it because you try to leave as much as you can because you're trying to cover all your costs for a period of time. But in this particular instance, that was already a commitment that was made. And in that particular instance, we were able to find it in the budget for this current year or the previous year.
Thank you, Ms. Dawn. I trust you with the money. I guess I just don't trust the way that some people are just blowing through the money and some people didn't have any type of boundaries. There was no boundaries set for previous and maybe even current city managers and interim city managers as they spend. But we seem to find money in the budget to cover the $400,000 and some other things. And I just pray that this council and maybe you can find some creative ways in the budget to help them find money for simple things. North of the railroad tracks in the heart of the Black community for benches and pavers, just some small basic necessity things that cost maybe $5,000 versus dipping in these budgets for hundreds and $200,000 and $300,000 and not knowing how these cuts are going to affect these different departments.
Well, we're trying to make a very diligent search to make sure that there's nothing else out there that we have any surprises on. So hopefully we've got that kind of down pat and that's not going to be an issue and that we will know exactly what it is that we have outstanding. And I know that there are some other things that we have outstanding as well. And most of those are being presented in the budget because if you notice in the budget for 2022, there are items in there that are related to some of the things where we've given tax rebates or, abatements on different things that we've done, like the Bell Road property and that kind of thing. Those are in there, but we're also going to be collecting revenue against that. The only ones we're concerned about are the ones where we don't have the offsetting revenue. But to me, I'd look at the undesignated fund balance as your savings account. And obviously, you don't want to spend your savings account down to zero. And so we're trying ardently not to do that.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion on the City Council Resolution 2021-160?
May I speak on this topic? First of all, I think it's not right that you're moving hundreds of thousands of dollars and we can't even look at the numbers and understand from which accounts and to which accounts they're going. I would think that if you're doing something like a few $1,000s is well within your spending authority, you wouldn't have to illustrate it for us, but I would think that if you're doing several $100,000s worth of fund balances, the rest of us should actually see that. As far as the projects go and where the monies go, I think you've got commitments already on the table that need to be funded. So hopefully you've already planned to meet the commitments that you've already made before you start new ones. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, back to the council. Is there a motion on the City Council Resolution 2021-166?
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion for approval on resolution number 2021-166.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Ms. Sykes, you call the roll.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Next is item 10, City Council Resolution 2021-170. Mr. Caroline, would you read that by title?
Your Honor, this one needs a little introduction. You all can consider it as revised. The revision that needs to be introduced is that the reference to the Board of Adjustments in the title would be stricken. It has been stricken from the body. However, apparently before it was sent, it was not saved properly in my office. Additionally, the ordinance number would be 2021-2201 that's referenced. So with that introduction, if you like, I'll read it as it would be revised.
Okay.
A resolution of City Council of City of Lake City, Florida, appointing members to the Planning and Zoning Board and the Historical Board in accordance with Ordinance 2021-2201, providing for various terms of office and providing for an effective date period.
Okay, what was the ordinance number or the resolution number?
2021-170.
Okay. Is there a motion as to 2021-170?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2021-170
As
Second.
revised.
as revised.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill? Mayor
Yes.
Witten?
Yes. Item 11, the City Council Resolution 2021-171. Mr. Kirkland, would you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of City of Lake City, Florida, ratifying the execution of task assignment number 20 to the continuing contract with North Florida Professional Services Incorporated, a Florida corporation, providing for engineering services relating to the Price Creek Water Treatment Plant Access Road, providing for the payment for the professional services at a not to exceed cost of $3,900.00, providing for conflict and providing an effective date period.
Is there a motion as City Council Resolution 2021-171?
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of resolution number 2021-171.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion by council? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Witten?
Yes. Okay, item 12, City Council Resolution number 2021-172.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the personnel manual for city employees, providing for the amendment of section 9.09 titled Holidays, providing for the addition of the Juneteenth holiday, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing an effective date period.
Mr. Warren, you want to speak on that?
Mr. Mayor, I've had a change of heart to speak on this issue. I think if I have to encourage you all, or even try to prompt you all to make this a holiday, when slaves were being held in Texas and finally made free, and Congress, our U.S. Congress, who couldn't even work together, make this a national holiday, I would just find it a waste of my time. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Bowden?
I hope I have to, Mayor, so I'll pay.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion by City Council?
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of resolution number 2021-172.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion by council? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Witten?
Yes. Item 13, the City Council Resolution 2021-173. Mr. Kirkland, you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing an amendment to the agreement with local number 2288 of the International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO, providing for the amendment of Article 14 titled Wages and Classifications, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date period.
Is there a motion on the City Council Resolution 2021-173?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2021-173.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mayor Witten?
Yes. And item 14, Mr. Warren, did you want to speak on that?
I may not have anything to say. I just want to hear from Ms. Duncan on that.
Okay. All right, Ms. Duncan?
There's someone. No.
Okay.
Since Ms. Duncan is going to be speaking on this and was on the agenda, I waited for this time. When Mr. Green was still on the council, he motioned and it was carried that the table of organization and the pay scales were at that point going to revert back to the prior year. And I just want to make sure as you're finalizing the budget and as you're finalizing all of the moves of money, that the table of organization and the pay scale for each of the department heads as they still exist, I think there's only 3 or 4 department heads currently in tow right now, but I would hope that they are all frozen at last year's pay raise as we understood at that meeting, and that they have not had any significant adjustments or retroactive raises or anything that would be getting balanced in this budget tonight. So if Ms. Duncan could just speak to that and make sure that everything on the table of organization did revert back as Mr. Green requested and as you approved, I would appreciate that clarification tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Duncan.
Am I speaking on that or am I speaking on?
What you were on the agenda for? Okay.
I'm here tonight to present this information, and basically I'm presenting this because a requirement of our investment policy is that this should be reviewed annually. And so I'm going to give you a simple overview, and essentially we don't really have any investment accounts other than the ones that I've shown you, which have to do with Florida Prime and the FMIT, the 0 to 2 year and the 1 to 3. So what this is about is that currently we don't have an investment advisor, and our investment policy states that it's the city manager and the finance director who would get together if there were going to be any changes made. But if you look at this investment performance that I have given you on the 2 items for the 02 high quality bond fund and the 1 to 3 high quality bond fund that is with FMIVT, these obviously are not making very much money. In fact, overall for the year, the 1 to 3 year only made $42.83. And then the 0 to 2 year made $379.30. Obviously, this is a bond fund. So since it's a bond fund, it's predicated based on the market, based on the interest rates. And as you know, right now, interest rates are really low. However, we haven't lost any money. But since this is actually in a market fund, then, the question is whether or not at some point you may want to look at that and maybe make some adjustments. So far, that has never really been touched since I have been here. In the 10 years that I've been here, we haven't had any reason to do so. The market is a little bit precarious. I know that it's at 46,000 on the exchange right now, but it may be something that we want to look into. As you know, our investment advisor, Jim Gallahan, retired. So we need to be thinking in the future for what we're going to do with that. And so if you look at this synopsis of the overview on the performance, it's saying what it's doing is it's trying to take these numbers and it's trying to compare it to a benchmark. And the benchmark in this particular case is Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, for their 1 year treasury note and the 1 to 3 year government index. We're above the benchmark on each one of them, but obviously it's not making that much of a return. But our investment policy and what is required by the state of Florida and what it says that you should put in that policy is the thing you should be most concerned about is the safety of it. So you have to look at the safety, the liquidity, and the return on the investment. Obviously, our return on investment is not all that great, but so far right now it is safe. So if you look at the reasons that it's saying that in the market that they're having these complications, obviously is because we have a labor market shortage, and they're presuming, the market is presuming that it's going to come back later on, because since they've done away with all the unemployment tax where everybody was receiving unemployment compensation, they think that might rebound it maybe a little bit. It also is saying that the mortgages, because the mortgages rates are down, then that's affecting them because that's the bond market itself. So therefore, that's what my brief overview is of those 2 items. And then we also have the Florida Prime, and in the Florida Prime, it actually earned $375.60. And it started off a balance of the year of $241,181.24 and ended with $241,556.84. And that is actually a money market account, money market type account. Is there anything you need to get an explanation on? I'm no expert on the stock market, but I understand enough to know that obviously right now we're dealing with interest rates that are extremely low. And so consequently, your rate on return is not going to be that great.
Did Jim, close his office or is there?
Yes, he retired
No,
October
there's nobody
30th.
there at all.
I'm sorry?
So there's nobody took it over.
No. Well, he was by himself anyway in his office.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question. So in the bond market, I'm quite concerned because of what's going on with the inflation.
Yeah.
One of the concerns or one of the questions I have is, have we considered laddered CDs? Where we could do a 1, a 3, and a 5-year CD that matures on those ratios. I mean, just a basic CD is going to pay you 3%
Right.
At this amount. So, I mean, I'm looking at these returns of 0.9%. That's pretty bad.
Yes.
I mean, we're outpacing the market, but I think bonds are going to take a dive. I mean, I think it's good that you're looking at it now because if we're going to do something, we need to do it. But I think safe. I don't know about going into the market. I don't like taking this money and putting it in the market. For long-term strategy, which is what this is, I mean, that might be one thing. It'd be nice to have a financial advisor, though, and not having an advisor is a real concern. So I know you mentioned that it's the city manager and the finance director that interviews them. Have you guys started interviewing for an advisor?
I was given a name of one and I have been contacted by them, but I'm not making any decisions about it because council has to do that. But I think that probably that's a good idea at this point right now to go ahead and look for a new financial advisor and some who can actually give you some advice on this.
Would that be an RFP or an RFQ process?
Yes. Maybe. It depends. If you're doing it for just a certain thing, like this right here would be just one certain item, you may not have to do that. It may be within, our purchasing guidelines. But obviously, if it's over the 20,000 threshold, it has to go out for an RFP.
I think we need to act on it quickly.
I think timeliness is going to be crucial here. I don't know if you're watching the markets. It's not looking good.
And of course, there is, when you have money and it's all it is it's in a bank account that's earning some interest on it, you have risk in the market and you also have risk just having money in the bank. But the risk of having the money in the bank is that inflation is going to eat up the dollar. So that's the problem.
Of course, the risk in the bonds is the inflation is going to make our earnings negative. We lose
Yes.
principal and.
Would you lose principal?
Yes. So I think we need to move forward on whatever the process is to find a financial advisor.
Right.
Because he was our financial advisor a long time.
Since 1986, I think he said.
Wow. I know he's been here since I've been here. So we need to act on that quickly.
Would that be a motion to search or do you have any input?
Mayor, we need to go back to the question that was posed just a moment ago about whether or not we need to go out for procurement on this.
Right.
I think that what you'd probably like to see, Mr. Sampson, is two options. One for a one-time procurement for this one issue, as opposed to a longer-term relationship as the council has had with Mr. Callahan. You may find that the one-time procurement, the city manager may be able to execute that without the council's consideration. And so if you'll just make a motion to direct administration to bring back procurement options towards a financial advisor, then he can look into seeing whether or not he can just bring you back a financial advisor or he has to go through procurement for everything. It'll be cost driven.
I have another question too. So FMIT, do they have a financial advisor on staff? I mean, we buy funds through them.
Oh, well, they're doing it through Atlanta Capital. So if you go and look at Atlanta Capital up online, I don't know if they're how large an organization are, but they only focus on like 3 markets, I believe. That's what it said. And primarily the bond market.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we authorize the interim city manager to look into what the process is, if he can do it, or if we need to come back with an RFQ.
There's a second?
A second.
Been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Okay, so the motion is going to be to direct administration to bring back procurement options for a financial advisor? basically?
Yes.
Okay.
Or if he can act without.
Right.
I mean, the dollar amount from this year's what, $280? That's well below the 20,000 threshold.
No, that's the one that I gave you was actually the adjustment for September. I actually have the one that is the annual return on it. And on that annual return, that's why I say the one that is the 1 to 3 year high quality bond only earned $42.83. And then the 0 to 2 year high quality bond only earned $379.30.
Now, those are more updated than the forms in the packet, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay.
I just pulled those this afternoon.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, you've already voted on it now, but yeah, I guess that was a good decision. Because the CDs, it's gonna get ate up by inflation as well. So I guess to get a financial advisor would be the best thing moving forward. Mr. Mayor, this council promised the citizen after the finalizing of the budget that we would deal with the $5.1 million of the ARPA money, and we would continue to get an update as to where that money is at, make it extremely clear. There's only 4 categories it can be spent in, and you also promised that a workshop would take place. And so is there an update on the ARPA money?
I don't have one. I do want a workshop. I want to get on it. We've just passed the budget about a month ago, or it went into effect, and but we do need by the first of the year to look at all the issues we have on finances and see where we're at across the board, and then about these funds here.
So how often can the citizens get an update on the ARPA funds? You're talking about most every small county, and even the county, I think they've gotten half their money out of the 14 million, they've gotten their 7. We got 5.1 sitting out there that they would give us 2.5 and some change on where we're at on that process. I mean, I think.
Maybe we can have it at the first meeting in December. Would be appropriate.
Thank you.
All right, it's comments to council. I want to thank Mr. Sampson for starting the meeting for me and getting things going, and say y'all didn't have to wait on me. Again, apologize because of all the circumstances. Mr. Hill, you had something else to say?
Yeah, yes, at our last meeting, I kind of came down hard on Waste Pro. I spoke with Mr. Frank about one of the issues that was called to my attention. And after speaking with Mr. Frank, he brought to my attention that I wasn't aware that those garbage trucks have cameras. And the issue that I was talking about, one of them was that the garbage wasn't picked up. After reviewing the camera, the person put their garbage out after Waste Pro had made their rounds. So I said that to say this. Again, I'm not in favor of Waste Pro's contract, but if the citizen didn't put their garbage out, they shouldn't call me where make it seem like Waste Pro not doing their job. So I'm saying that to say this. I was wrong for bashing Waste Pro the way that I did. And from now on, when I get a phone call from a citizen about Waste Pro, I'm going to do my due diligence to check and see if they put their garbage out the way it's supposed to be put out. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Williams had an update here on the new city hall. You want me to read it? I mean, he put it with us. The lines for the customer service are run. I think this came from the IT department. The IT equipment is partially installed. It's set to be complete this week. The switch is being configured this week, and the existing switch configurations for City Hall have been taken into account for the new location. There's an appointment scheduled Tuesday, the 23rd with Comcast to run the fiber to the building and install the modem. It should be very shortly after that. Customer service manager has been updated and they're starting to make plans for their arrangements in the equipment location. So hopefully that's moving pretty good. And he said here that, other than the things waiting on Comcast, it's likely within this month, barring any unforeseen issues, it'll be completed.
Thank you. All right, if nothing else.
Mayor, I just have one clarification question before you adjourn. When we were speaking to Mr. Warren about the ARPA money update, did I understand that you're going to have an update the first meeting in December, or you're going to have a workshop the first meeting in December?
I'm not scheduling a workshop, I'm just getting an update, maybe at that point we can schedule it.
Okay, I just want to make
Mayor,
sure.
Mayor, there is a litigation, there's a general meeting scheduled this week or this Friday. I guess technically it's a special meeting in which you'll be asked to go into a litigation session. There are two pending cases that need you all will need to render some advice towards the strategy or settlements of those two lawsuits. And they've already been noticed, so that'll be at 3
That'll be
o'clock.
Friday at 3.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, if nothing else, we'll be adjourned. Thank you.
You know what,
That's why I figured I would mention it.
All right. Okay. We'll appreciate it. I never did.
Yeah, why did you get up there? Always at one sometimes. That's why I said, I get it from home. I'm consistent. I know.
Yeah.
I keep the man all the way. Except me. I read around your email.
You read it correctly.
Yes, sir. I almost said, we need to hear from Keith Williams. Yeah.
Shut this all off real quick.
He's